Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Couch Experts podcast. I'm Jahmari Moore with my host Zane Allee here. We're episode 16. How you doing, Zane?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We are right in the peak of, holiday season. Everybody's running around. I feel like every day I'm spending money. So it's kind of one of those things, but it's a good time of year. You get to connect with people that you maybe haven't talked to this year and do some things that you haven't got to do. So overall, I'm doing good. How are you, man?
Man, it has been a roller coaster. It has been crazy. Obviously, we've been out for a little bit since we ended the season, and we're coming out with some more episodes just to talk about things that we're doing, college sports, sports in general, things like that. But for me personally, man, this past weekend, I went out to go watch I watched the Eagles and Commanders game, but I also watched the Chicago Bears play the Green Bay Packers. Man, it was a pretty crazy game, crazy outing. Celebrated a birthday. Shout out to Thomas Reed III. He had a birthday this past Friday. And so it was pretty crazy, man. I'm still recovering from a pretty crazy weekend and then traveling to Chicago this week. By the time this come out, I'll already be in Chicago with my family, but a ton of different things, wrapping up school, right? What about you as far as school? How did the semester end up for you?
The semester's not bad. I went to the NFR, so I was in Las Vegas for about a week. My wife and we went out to the National Finals Rodeo. Again, just a reminder for anybody that might be listening for the first time, NFR, it's up on my hat. It's the Super Bowl of rodeos. It's 10 rounds in a row. My wife and I went to 2 nights out of the 10, but it was just really cool to be in Vegas. And then I came back. That was right before Christmas break. So I took a week off. Now I get 2 weeks off for Christmas break. So I feel like I haven't been working a whole lot, but school was good. I'm actually transitioning from middle school back to high school. The high school in the school district I'm currently in is right across the street. So it's not that big of a change. But I'm just making the jump from eighth grade back to 9 through 12, kind of middle of the year. So a little bit stressful that way with my doctorate and everything else. But I got all my papers wrote and everything is buttoned up. My football teams are looking good. My teams are looking okay. We'll chat about those in a little bit. But other than that, man, it's like I said, it's a busy time of year, but it's a fun time.
What's one of the biggest differences between teaching in middle school and in high school? I've never taught
I
middle school.
I say this with all the love in my heart, right? Because I love my eighth graders. In fact, I know a couple of my eighth graders have watched even an episode or two. Eighth graders are just they're a lot like your freshmen in the volume. Like they're just so loud, man. Like I love them, but that that volume control is not there yet. You know what I mean? And they get progressively quieter. Ninth grade, they're a little bit quieter. 10th grade, a little bit quieter, and so on. But at the end of the day, man, kids are kids, right? They want to be there to learn. Hopefully, we can teach them something with the time we got, but otherwise, just trying to teach them how to be good human beings and stuff like that.
Right. How has being away and traveling, right, doing all of these other things impacted how you've been watching sports? Like, have you been paying a little bit more attention now that you're a little bit away from school, or because you've been traveling, it's been a little harder?
Uh, I have not been a good sports fan outside of Wyoming Cowboys and Cowgirls. I've made it kind of a point, obviously, with the podcast, trying to stay up with them a little bit more intentionally. Other than that, I haven't been the greatest fan, I will say. I put it on my phone when I can, but just trying to be present in what we're doing in person in that moment. How
Mhm.
about you? Because I know you've been traveling a ton. Is that pretty similar for you?
Yeah, it's pretty similar, making a point to make watch specific things, but it's so much that's going on right now. I will say it can just be hard to keep up, and there's a lot of different stories that's out in the sports world. So, I mean, you try to keep up as best you can, but it's been a lot going on since we last have come back together. I mean, there's a ton of things out there that's happening both in Wyoming sports and then also just the sports and entertainment world in general. And so it's pretty. it's pretty easy to get updates and see what's happening. You might not be able to catch every single game, giving everything that's happening, but you'll be able to go back and watch it or watch some highlights and things like that. So that's I'm kind of in the same type of boat as you, especially getting ready to travel again to Chicago and then back. So I'm looking forward to having some time to kind of chill and watch the games a little bit more and reset before you get back into semester two because again, semester two is a beast. For those of you who aren't educators, the motivation goes down even quicker. And then it's just dragging a bunch of people to the finish line. Everybody's just waiting for it to be over, both students and teachers. It's a pretty chaotic time. At least the weather gets better around that time if you're in a colder region. But yeah, those are just some of the updates with us. We want to get into some of the things with Wyoming sports maybe and just talk a little bit about some of the things that's been happening. And we can start off with men's basketball right now, just looking at where they stand and just some of their recent matchups. What have you been noticing?
So with our men's team, guys, this is a really energetic, hard playing group. Um, Last night I got to watch him play against Grand Canyon University, and we were like, I don't remember the exact stat line. I should look it up, but I don't have my usual setup, so it's a little more difficult. I think we were like 2 for 22 from the 3 point line.
Mhm.
It's You're just not gonna win a lot of games that way, and we're a team that shoots 38% from the 3. So we're
Right.
usually a lot more consistent, but last night Grand Canyon did not miss shots and Wyoming missed seemingly everything. That's not gonna happen a lot. I actually really like our men's team to be, I don't even know if you can call them that much of a long shot to win the Mountain West championship this year. I
Mhm.
think if they get the three ball going, this is a team that can go on and make a lot of noise, especially in the postseason. So definitely
Mhm.
a team I want fans to get excited about. How about you, man? You seen anything from them? Have you gotten to catch a lot of games, anything like that?
Yeah, so I actually did get a chance to look at the loss that we just had in just it was weird because I feel like in this I don't want to sometimes I could be superstitious, but I feel like when I don't watch, I see them doing really well, and then when I do watch or go to the games, it's like the complete opposite. And so, of course, I'm like, all right, I need to tune in and see what's going on, and it's just not what you hope for. And so, I try to for people who are superstitious out there. I promise is not me. At least I don't think so this far into the season yet. Um, I think that if we can really start getting things going in conference play, that's something that I'm really curious about and seeing how that goes and just being able to see if we can take some stride and some growth in conference. That's kind of my biggest focus right now, or at least my takeaway from just some of the games and things that I've seen so far with basketball.
Yeah, and the only thing I would throw out there as well is, the transfer portal, it's hitting football hard, but it's completely changed basketball in the sense that you
Yeah.
almost get a new team every year.
Every
And
single
so
year.
think I think Sundance Wicks has the right formula. It's
Mhm.
high energy, it's wear you down, it's not a lot of technical, but I think with a brand new team every year, that's the right formula for success. Would you kind of agree with that? Because I know you coach basketball a little bit, I coach basketball a little bit.
Mhm.
To me, the simpler you can make it with a young team is usually going to be the recipe for success. Now, obviously, you and I, neither one of us are claiming to be Division 1 head coaches, but usually that is a successful form.
Yeah, and I think given that the teams are different, there's an opportunity to basically reevaluate how you want to coach and what systems you have. And I think the cool part about this team is that you do see signs of depth, which is going to be really important down the stretch when guys are getting run down or there might be injuries that occur. And I think that being able to have multiple people you can depend on is really it just gives you a lot more flexibility as a coach on what you could call and what you can do. And so when you have a diverse way in scoring, especially when I think about the team offensively, I think that that's going to just be a lot of fun for a coach to have a different options of how you want to approach it, and just really hard to defend when you have a lot of depth and you can give a lot of looks to the defense. And so I think that with all of the changes and things, with the realignment and how it's impacted the game, I think that the Mountain West, I think, is shaping up to be relatively competitive, especially when you look at teams like Utah State or Colorado State, New Mexico. I think that it's a lot better than I would have thought a few years ago. I'll put it that way.
They did the net rankings last night on the GCU game, and again,
Mhm.
fans, we're recording on Sunday. This is usually when we record. They did the net rankings. Right now, we would have projected 5 outright bids to the Mountain West tournament based on analytics, and Wyoming is one of those 5. So that's how well this team is playing right now, is from a
Yeah.
net rankings perspective, we're ranked 55th in the country, and so out of 64 seeds, that would put Wyoming right in the mix, so it is a really good team. But yesterday, the Nuggets game started. Tulane was playing Ole Miss. There was another playoff game finishing up. Then the NFL games kicked up. There was like 7 games I would
Wow.
have liked to watch all at one point yesterday. Like it's a hard time of year for sure
Right,
to
right.
be locked in with it.
No, I agree. And just how, when I think about these TV deals and how they're moving a lot of these games, as we talked about, this Saturday, we had 2 NFL games, so it's all over the place. I'm trying my best, y'all. I'm trying
That's a
my
lot.
best to juggle it all. It's a lot to watch. It's a lot to watch for sure. So, given we've talked a lot about football already, throughout the season, but there's always this aftermath and this off-season type of way to be a fan of sports, and we're in that phase with football now, especially when you think about all of the people that are entering the portal now. Zane, what are some of your thoughts about just this phase of the Wyoming football team now, where we're in a free agency phase? Is there anything that you've been seeing or noticing about where we're at now and going into the off season?
So as of yesterday, we have hired an offensive coordinator.
Mhm,
So that's really big news to go ahead and get him. His name is Christian Taylor. He does have experience at the FCS level. Actually, he's the former offensive coordinator of the year at the FCS level. Now he's been with the Bills for the last couple years as both a defensive assistant and an offensive analyst. And so I think that right there is gonna be huge. Now we have somebody on the offensive side that it can kinda it puts a face to it, right? Because you know this
mhm,
from your time getting recruited. You're talking to your coordinator or a defensive assistant trying to paint you a picture of that program, right? So
mhm.
if you don't have that guy at the top, it's really hard to sell, especially offensive players. Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah, I think, credentials is gonna be really important, number 1, and having that NFL experience is always encouraging for fan bases, players. I remember when we fired our defensive coordinator my freshman year in 2016. 2017, or I guess going into the year of 2017, we got Scott Hazelton, who had a really good rep, and when he was, with the Jaguars, and so I think that's very energizing again, and having just kinda like somebody who is just has credentials and has a good resume, and I think that's something that we desperately need, especially because I think that defense will continue to be a strong point for football.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so I think I don't know what do you see on the market? I think right now we have 6 or 7 guys that are in the portal or
Mhm,
have entered the portal. Uh, Shout out to Cody Tucker, 7220 Sports. Come to find out, Teron Kelman, it was a fairly amicable split, is what Cody Tucker got told. And now Teron Kelman is looking for his 4th team in 4 years. So that
mhm.
kinda maybe paints a picture there, but I don't know, man. I think we're in this weird spot of you kinda gotta wait for these Power 4 schools to get their
Mm.
guys, and
Yeah,
then
it's
it
kinda like a
filters
trickle
down to
down.
the
Yeah.
yeah, it filters down to the group of 6, so I think we'll get our guys, but I think we're gonna have a little bit of a delay here, especially with all these playoff games.
Yeah, that's the hard part is it's a big waiting game, with the playoffs happening right now, and it just because then it's like, right, you would want if it was a trickle down, you would want a player from one of the best or top schools. And when you have a lot of them still in season or I guess like postseason play, that process gets delayed. And so
Mhm.
it's just a bit of a waiting game, right? At this point, and just like hard recruiting for the coaching staff, which to be honest, for people who don't know, these coaches, they're recruiting off season, they're recruiting mid season, like literally they're recruiting while they're also having the responsibility to coach, which I thought was insane when I first got to that level where coaches during the bye week, instead of them being with their families, or taking some time to it's not to say like they do all of their coaching responsibilities, but then they also pair it with the recruiting, which I just the work ethic is insane. And I talked to Sally before and just kind of not I don't want to say nonchalant, but I asked her, I said, "Hey, what do you think about me coaching at some point in like college or NFL?" She's like, "Oh, it's great, but I'll never see you." I know what that means.
I was gonna say it's one of those for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and I think that's why we see such a push for a general manager at the college level because these
Mhm,
assistants and these heads are like, dude, I can't, especially now with NIL, you're trying to force them to have a budget and
mhm.
read off numbers to these guys while trying to do data and analytics for coaching, while trying to do all that. I don't, I'm not shocked at all that they had to go get a GM for these teams because that would be insane. I mean, you hear it all the time. The busiest people in sports is college football coaches. Like, and I
Right,
believe
right.
it.
Mhm. I agree, I agree. I'm thinking about the pieces that we lost too, right? So I'm thinking of we lost a decent amount of players to the portal this year, if I'm not mistaken.
We're at 6 or 7 in the portal, but we have a lot of upperclassmen
Mhm,
graduating as well. Like we're losing a lot of depth.
mhm. Yeah, so we're losing a ton of depth there, and so we gonna have to yeah, I'm interested to see what how it plays out. I know that despite the outflow of our roster, we're definitely going to continue to add significant pieces to help rebuild that depth and upgrade it, right? So some notable ones, I think, the safety, I think his name is Brooklyn Cheat is coming from Cali.
Nice.
You got a couple of D ends, Peter. I don't know if I'm pronouncing their name right, but Peter E Iebi, and then and they're coming from, Riverside, City College, Chisholm. This is another tough one. Terrible with name pronunciation. Fini? I don't know if that's right, but Florida Atlantic. If you notice when you look up in fans, if you look up who's currently a notable person that might be coming to Wyoming, you have a mix between schools that are somewhat big or notable, and then you have some smaller ones. You got one from Iowa, I think a running back, Max White, so that can be interesting. I don't know too much about him, or a safety from Wisconsin, Justin Taylor. So, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, and I'm looking forward to keeping people updated on what's going on, especially because, technically speaking, the window opens on the 2nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of oh, the NBA would call it collusion, but I think there's a fair amount of collusion going on because right now it just feels like the NCAA is the Wild West. But no, man, are you a big proponent? Would you rather see guys trickle down from Power Four, or this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball, we filtered up? So like we got a bunch of FCS cats that could just play, and they came in, and I felt like they did a phenomenal job. Are you a big proponent of either direction? Do you kind of like trickle up or trickle down, or does it matter?
I think that it really is going to depend on just how well the recruitment is. And so it doesn't in theory, it shouldn't matter because if you are a good recruiter, then you'd be able to identify not only the talent, but recognize a talent that can fit in the system that you want. So, I see many of examples at every level where there might be people that's under recruited and not given many opportunities, but they get one and they thrive in the system. The most
Mhm.
notable that we as Wyoming fans know is obviously Josh Allen. That's somebody that was vastly under recruited and he, found the right situation and people believed in him and, the rest is history. You see it, I mean, from just a fan standpoint in the NFL, we have the Chicago Bears has a stellar corner that because we were down, I mean, our defense has been injured the whole season. We haven't had a fully healthy defense all year, and at this point in the season, it's definitely hard to have it. And we signed Nashawn Wright on, like, a veteran contract or something, less than $2 million deal from the Vikings practice squad, and he now leads the NFL in turnovers.
Yeah.
So, he just had one this past weekend against the Green Bay Packers on Josh Jacobs, and so, I mean, it can the recruiting, right? I think the key is that we have to make sure that we have pieces that fit appropriately in the system because it doesn't have I mean, you can have somebody from a big school or big name, but if it's not a good fit, then it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter at that point.
Who's that cat? He was the number 1 quarterback in the country. He went to, like, UCLA, and then he didn't get the starting job, so he transferred. I wanna say he transferred to Boise, and then at Boise, he didn't get the starting job, and he went to UTEP, and then he didn't get the starting job at U so you can have these guys that are blue chip prospects, and they might not be these great recruits, and then you'll have no name Joe Schmo who's just an absolute baller, right? So it could kinda go either way. Let's see here. I mean, obviously now we have a new offensive coordinator. Where are you at with the state of the program? Are you pretty optimistic? Are you frustrated? Where's your head at with the state of the program? Maybe more specifically on the offensive side of the ball, because I obviously the defense didn't give us much to complain about, but where's your head at with them?
I just hope there's no defensive drop off because I think the
Yeah.
clear focus is offense, right? Like the clear, obvious focus is, hey, we need to improve production offensively. So I don't have a doubt that that will be addressed. It's the most obvious thing that you need to fix. I worry about do we still maintain our level of production and play on the defensive side, right? That's usually, that's usually the thing that it's kind of how off seasons work, right? You kind of identify, okay, what's the biggest stressor? And sometimes it can be a mixed bag, which I'm thankful that it's not for us where we got big trouble on defense and offense, even though we're losing some pieces. I think that you want to be able to make sure that you have balance. And so I have no doubt that they'll adjust offense and they'll figure some stuff out. Now, obviously, you have to make sure you get the quarterback right because no matter how many things you do, I mean that's the most important position. And so you got to make sure you get that right. So if they can get the quarterback right and they figure out the figure out who's going to play in this new system with this new offensive coordinator, I think that it'll be all right.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah, so I'm not super worried about it. What about you? How are you feeling overall?
Um, it's definitely in my opinion, I don't know if there's a bigger prove it year for Jay Saville and company than this year, right? You're
Okay,
heading
yeah.
into year 3. Um, I'm not saying you're gonna come out and win the Mountain West championship, but you had 3 wins, you had 4 wins. If you come out with even 5 wins, I'm not sure he keeps his job at the end of the year. I'm not
Mhm,
rooting for that, but I do think that's probably where my mentality is with him.
mhm,
Just for, time is money, and with the way money flows in the with NIL and stuff like that, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of patience, and so
yeah.
that's kinda where I'm at with it. Again, I'm not rooting for anybody to lose their job. I just think that's the state of college football and where we're at.
Right, right, right. No, I'm with you, man. The state of college football is a good call out. You know, it's an ongoing conversation that I think we'll continue to see the evolution of where this thing takes us because I feel like it's so rapid and we're starting to see a lot of co-founded variables develop from just all of the changes. And so, I don't know, college sports is just an interesting space, which I want to briefly segue to just some of the things that's been happening in the world of college sports. And one of the big elephants in the room that I know viewers are probably interested, or maybe they don't know anything about, but with the Sharon Moore situation in Michigan, like my fiance, I don't think she really follows college sports like that, but she sent me this story like, "Hey, have you heard about this? This is insane. Like, this is crazy." Zane, are you able to give viewers who might not know a quick synopsis on what we're discussing with this situation with Michigan?
So right now it's all speculation, right?
Allegedly. Everything's
Yeah,
alleged.
it's all alleged. Now, I will say this: I don't think Michigan fires Sharon Moore without some pretty solidified proof. We'll say, but anyway, Sharon Moore, head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, took over for Harbaugh when he left for the Chargers.
Mhm.
As far as allegedly it goes, he was having an affair with his administrative assistant. And there was a lot of shady things that led up to this, right? She
Yeah.
initially was on the academic side of things, making $50,000 a year. Ron Moore gets promoted head coach. She gets promoted to administrative assistant. She's now making close to $100,000 as an
Mhm.
administrative assistant. So that right there is a little bit of paper trail for the university to follow, and they did. And then it just sounds like I don't actually know the full story of how everything kinda hit the fan. All I do know is that I wanna say it was not an Uber driver, like a delivery driver, like, called the police on him. I don't know. Do you know the full story? All I know is that he was having an affair and everything hit.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff here, right? And I'm pulling it up now just so that we can talk to viewers about the specifics. But what the thing here's how it broke, right? When people, and just for people who don't know, when a coach is fired for cause, like specifically for cause, that means that it's something that is vastly like it's a pretty serious deal. So we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at this because, you know, sometimes coaches get fired all the time if things aren't going well or they want to go in a different direction, but they're still in those situations that are more common, it's not like they don't get paid. They're still going to get what they're owed through in the contract they signed. But for cause, it's a little different. So initial reports, I think it was like December 10th, maybe it was very recent. Um, the internal investigation found that he had an inappropriate relationship as Zane was talking about. And so the story comes out, and now we have to kind of go backwards on, okay, how exactly did this happen? What's going on? What's the timeline? So the first thing, you know, I guess the investigation started and began in the summer/fall of this year. Okay. They learned allegedly that this relationship with the staff member. Now, I've had some people talk to me about it and have this debate because where while it's not necessarily illegal to have relations with your staff members, it's extremely unethical in a lot of situations. The ethics of everything, and there are regulations and different things depending on what company or what entity that you're a part of. But
So they have a human resource clause. I was just reading. You can't
yeah,
have a superior subordinate relationship.
right,
So
because
that's
there's
it.
power
Yeah.
dynamics there.
Yeah.
So, depending on what entity you're a part of, there's a lot of ethical, moral implications behind it that leads to these type of deals. And so that's why they're taking this thing very seriously. So they conducted this internal review during the season after receiving an anonymous tip. Okay. So that's another thing. And both Moore and the staffer, they at the time denied. So they both were like, "Nah, we don't know. No, this isn't true." Right. So the matter did not result in any actions initially because there wasn't enough evidence to suggest that anything was going on. Right. So the relationship, I guess, ends and the university is notified, which things gets a little interesting. Right. So I guess something might have happened between them two that now they're not on the same page. So the investigation starts and they're on the same page. And around the time, I think maybe November, December ish, is where things start to take a change because now, or the story takes a turn because now the staff member ends the relationship with more allegedly, again, allegedly, after it lasted for a number of years. And I mean, there's alleged of like them getting pregnant and having to like it's all types of crazy stuff that's associated with this with also the if I'm looking at this correctly, he also had a family. Like he has a whole other wife, kids, right on the other side of all of this. And so that's also pretty wild. But after this alleged breakup, he continued to contact or try to contact her with numerous texts and calls. Maybe he's nervous, maybe he's not sure what's going on. And the staff member then reports now the staff member actually comes out and reports it like, all right,
The
now I'm going to
relationship.
actually confirm a lot of this evidence. So then that's where they have
He
enough to
got
fire
fired.
him for cause.
Yep.
So this was on, I think, December 10th, where now they announced it. And so now they have credible evidence that all of this stuff is going on. But then it takes a turn even further because now he's fired and it's for cause. He's losing this money, right? And again, all alleged. So police detain and arrest. At the time, we're just getting all this information all at once about the arrest, and we're like, what's going on? Everybody's asking what's happening. And so when the charges and things start to come out, I mean, there's three, I'm pretty sure there were like three offenses. There was like felony, the third degree home invasion, stalking a domestic relationship, breaking and entering. So these are very, like now it's getting to a point where instead of it just being an unethical relationship, I mean, it's turning into something that's even crazier. And so the the story was, and again, this is all alleged, that he, and again, there's a bunch of other details that are coming out each and every week, I feel like, but he had this like breakdown with his actual family, threatened to self-harm himself and the family. They're freaked out. He leaves. Now he's going to the staff house, breaks into the staff member's house, threatens to kill them in themselves, has like a butter knife or something like that, holding it up to his neck, her neck, saying things like "my blood is on your hands." And so yeah, it's I mean it's pretty chaotic. It's a pretty chaotic story. And so now I'm pretty sure he's pleaded not guilty and was ordered to release was order release on bond for like 25K. And his next court appearance, I believe, is the 22nd of January. I mean, Michigan. I don't know what's happening with Michigan. There always is some type of scandal.
Dude, they're always dealing with something. I know. They need to go out and well, and the other problem is like right now, I feel like most of the quote unquote elite head coaching candidates are gone. So I
Yeah.
don't know where they go from there. I don't know if they have somebody in house. It's just gonna be a mess. But no, man, thoughts and prayers to everybody involved in that because that's a mess. That is a giant mess.
What I don't understand is with Michigan specifically, I just don't know how after the last alleged incident with Coach Harbaugh, they it seemed like they got through. They're like, "Okay, we're good now." Boom, this happens. Just a complete bombshell.
I feel like those elite head coaches are so polarizing, and obviously not all of them, but I feel like some of your elite head coaches, they're so polarizing and I don't wanna say emotional, but maybe emotional is the right word. I feel like they're always embroiled in something like this. I don't know what it is, like, Urban Meyer was an absolute mess at Ohio State and Florida. I remember everybody that he had signed there, but, just consistent enough to win games. Harbaugh had some scandals, Sharon Moore had some scandals. Honestly, you're clean cut, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know if Saban ever had anything attached with him like this. Not in
Yeah,
my
hold on,
knowledge
sure.
anyway, but I don't know. It's a very interesting deal. That's gonna be fun to clean up for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm interested to see how the off season play out too, because then there's gonna be a lot of politics into that as well. But yeah, that story is pretty ridiculous to be honest and very bizarre. There's a lot of other stuff that's happening too. One of the things that we had in our sheet here was talking about conference realignment updates. So, like, looking at Mountain West versus the Pac, and I guess the trial officially sets for, July 2027. So, can you give a little context just for the fans out there about conference realignment?
So as we know, we're losing a number of schools to the pack effective at the end of this year.
Mhm,
Right now, we're the pack. Those schools are supposed to be paying a buyout that they agreed to.
mhm,
The pack is saying, no, we were forced into this. We didn't really have an option. They're trying not to pay. And the problem is, both schools on both sides have been promised money, right? The pack promised the Mountain West schools so much money to leave. The Mountain West schools promised so much money for them to stay.
mhm,
And this isn't going to get resolved until 2027. Meanwhile, our TV rights deals expire this year. So
right,
right now, even TV companies and media companies are trying to say, dude, what's going on? Like, obviously, right now, if for anybody that doesn't know, the Mountain West gets about $10 million a year
mhm,
per school. And then the Pac, at one point, the whole reason the Pac 12 split up is because they wanted 15 million a year. Well, the Big Ten and the SEC promised them 20 million a year. And so that's kind of why all those schools left the Pac. Well, now the Pac 12 is trying to backfill. It's just a mess because I don't know if the new look Pac 12 and the new look Mountain West is even worth 10 million a year. I
yeah,
would argue that
true,
it's two weaker conferences rather than one strong conference,
mhm,
and they're not going to get near the money that they had. So right now, I think the only people that are winning are lawyers, man. Lawyers are working on this. They've now drug out a case that was supposed to be hopefully get settled is now going to be a 5-6 year trial.
mhm. Damn, that's,
It's it's bananas. Worst case scenario, Mountain West schools lose a lot of money and the Power 5 schools also lose a lot of money. They don't make near as much money as they were, and now both conferences get weaker. Is
yeah.
honestly that's potentially an outcome that could happen.
Yeah, and with any type of lawsuit, you have to keep in mind that when you have certain type of lawsuits or cases out, it's usually because somebody wants compensation from some type of loss or damage. And so when we're looking at this, it's not just about teams moving around. It's about who pays how much and whether smaller conferences get fairly compensated when a rival rebuilds, right? And I think that it's really about parity in college football and these conferences that I mean, there's a lot of I mean, there's so many moving parts to it and the timeliness of it, I think, is the most interesting thing, like you said, because those deals are going to be up soon. And so I'm very interested in just the different strategies that happen, right? Because when the Pac 12 is trying to rebuild, when you think about media rights having been essential to its strategy, I mean, to stay viable and lucrative. I think about the CBS Sports deal that was signed through, I think, 30 or 2031, maybe. and it being a primary partner, giving the Pac-12 national broadcast exposure and stability. So now with the Pac-12 also extending a long-term secondary deal with the CW, this now ensures Pac-12 games can reach 100% of U.S. households uh, free to air, via free-to-air broadcast. So this includes football games, men's, women basketball, tournament coverage, and so this is all important just because the TV revenue, as you pointed out, is pretty much the main reason the Pac-12 exists at this level, which is pretty crazy to think about. And it's just the more guaranteed broadcast dollars and exposure, the better position the league is compared with, these other groups. It just, all of that I just talked about is like, is not even about the game anymore.
Well, and I'm gonna go on a little rant here, and this will be a great clip for social media. What it was is it's not what's best for fans, right? What this is commissioners for the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, people in executive offices that are making 6, 7 figure salaries. They're saying, well, the best thing to do would be for the Mountain West Conference and the Pac-12 to merge, but I don't want to lose my job. I'm the Mountain West, blah, blah, blah. And this Pac 12 person saying, I'm the Pac 12, blah, 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 making 6, 7 figures. Well, I don't want to lose my job. Rather than merging, which would have been what's best for fans, building a better conference, getting better revenue back to the teams. Now you've got these executives that are dragging their heels, doing what's best for them and screwing over two, not one, but two conferences at the same time. So effectively, it's just top down greed, and it honestly it pisses me off because that's where we're at, and that's the
Yeah.
whole reason why we're in this mess.
Yeah. Cause now it's like everybody really loses except those
These
exec
executives,
those the lawyers. Those are the ones who are winning in this situation, and so it's it's complicating and it's making recruitment a lot harder, and it's harder to navigate on that level. Scheduling becomes complicated. I mean, just overall a lot of uncertainty. So yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting because then that goes back to our topic about Wyoming, and our position in all of this, right? Because here we are as just passionate fans hoping that our teams can recruit players that will help our program. And you just have this bigger scheme, this bigger thing that's happening, and we're just a piece on the board. We're just a pawn in the whole thing.
yeah, we're just caught between a pissing contest between these two conferences. Wyoming, and don't get me wrong, obviously we owe a lot to these conferences because let's be honest, Wyoming's fan base, we're an elite fan base, but we're a small fan base. We are much more on the FCS level when it comes to fandom. But
Mhm,
because of the way we've been positioned, because of the success we had in the 80s and 90s, is why we are where we are. So unfortunately, Wyoming's in this position of just kind of holding on for dear life
mhm,
because we don't have the bargaining chip to say, well, I have this many millions of viewers and I'll take those with me wherever we go. We're
right,
kind of just saying, hey, whatever deal we can get is the deal we want. And
yeah,
so we are in a tough spot, especially as a Wyoming fan base. Again, we're an elite fan base. I would say we're probably one of the loyal fan bases out there. We just don't have the volume that you get with California, Nevada, Colorado, even Fort Collins. Even though it's not far away, they have a lot more reach than even we do.
mhm, yeah. Absolutely, man. It's pretty chaotic in again, the college sports world is pretty insane. Some other sports news that I want to make sure we get a chance to talk about. Puka Nacua, some of the things that was happening with him. For some people who don't know, Puka Nacua, in my humble opinion, I think he's probably the best receiver in the league right now. Like
It's
easily
between
one of the
him or
best receivers in the league right now, play for the Los Angeles Rams.
would
I
you
mean,
like him or JSN more?
I'm gonna go Puka, even though
Go Puka.
JSN I think is like a close like just
It's
watching because I think JSN production wise, I think he is like when you look at his stats. I mean, I'm fine with people arguing that, but when you actually watch the games and how Puka is like like just dominant it's insane. And then he's also splitting a lot of his touches with other dominant receivers like Devontae Adams,
Vontae.
right? So whereas in Seattle, not to say they don't have other good receivers, but he's definitely like the go-to. But even if you look at his last performance this past week, not well, yeah, because they played on. I mean, the game they had on Thursday was insane. Last Thursday, so almost a week from now, he caught like 12 passes for what 225 yards and 2 touchdowns?
He had Matt Stafford had 55 fantasy points and Puka Nacua had 52. And my uncle-in-law had both of them starting. He had 107 points from two guys.
Oh, man. I mean, it's crazy, right? But the reason why we bring up Puka is not necessarily just his performance, is because he's been in, a little controversy, the past week or 2. Number 1, because he called out referees, and usually that's a big no-no for a lot of players and coaches to call out refs, which, to be honest, I think it's kinda dumb to get called out. Like, I mean, I feel like we have to acknowledge that the players are human beings, and they're going to get upset if they feel like a ref missed a call, or even if you go back and look. Now, Puka was more specific to say that, like, hey, referees actually just want to get on TV, which takes it a little further than, hey, I think the refs missed this call, or hey, the officiating is bad. But it's kind of feeding into this narrative of things being fixed. People kind of joke about the NFL having a script. I joke about, hey, the NFL script this year is awesome. Each week you get game of the year candidates. But he was specific to say, he was on a live stream. I think it was Aiden Ross live stream for the streaming people out there. And he made these comments, but what gave even more backlash, which I honestly, and I don't know if you are able to speak to it, there was a live stream clip of Aiden Ross basically teaching Puka a touchdown celebration dance to do after he scored his next touchdown. But what Puka didn't realize in the video, and I'm still like puzzled on why Aiden Ross would do something like this, he was showing him a gesture, like a hand rubbing gesture, that is considered a harmful stereotype that's anti Semitic. And it drew a lot of public criticism towards Puka. But when you watch it, at least in my opinion, it's clear that Puka doesn't know what it is. And to be honest, when I first seen it too, I didn't really make the connection, but I could tell that Aiden wanted him to do something like, you could tell what was
Controversial.
going on. Like, you could tell Puka didn't understand what was going on, but Aiden knew, hey, this has some type of meaning, and I want you to do it because it means something. And so once I did my own research on it, once it was popping up, I'm like, oh, okay, that's crazy. Because why would you set somebody up like that?
Yeah, I know. I don't know, man. I actually hadn't even heard about that one. I just feel like it's I don't know, man. We're in the realm of content creation a lot less than Aiden is, right? But I feel like it's all for clicks. I don't
Yeah,
know. I feel
so
like people do that all the time.
yeah, it was like the celebration. I'm not gonna do it or anything, but it was like him flexing like his arms up like a regular flex that's like nothing, but then following up with like leaning over and then like rubbing your hands together gesture. And at first, when I saw it, I'm like, all right, like weird celebration. But then he kept telling him, like he kept trying to show him specifically how to do it. Now his comments about refs and this was all happening in this same live stream. So
Jeez.
this was before the game. This was like not right before the game, like the same day, but like a few days before the game. And
Mhm.
so what ended up happening is circularized around online, a lot of criticism. So then Puka had to issue a public apology saying he didn't understand the gesture's offensiveness and its meaning. And basically he had to then go back and say, hey, I oppose and condemn any forms of racism, hate, things like that. And what sucked about it was that both the NFL and the Rams had condemned that act and had to like talk about or retaliate, or excuse me, they had to like state that they don't or reiterate that they don't tolerate anti-Semitism and discrimination. Like it became this big thing. And even after that crazy Rams Seahawks game, the reporters are asking Sean McVay about what happened. And so, I mean, this can go into a whole nother topic, the streaming world and uh just online access and the things people do and say uh with it. I can, Zane, later on or something, I can show you what I was talking about if it's even still up. But again, I just think that if I was like, hey Zane, do this thing on camera like right now, like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, and then
Yeah.
people are just blowing you up. It's going viral how you do that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you're like, yeah, I'm not talking to that guy again.
Well, it's that exactly, and it's for clicks, it's for views, and obviously Puka didn't know what was going on. And Puka's a football player, you know what I mean? I do think his take on referees was pretty controversial. So what a lot of people don't realize is most NFL referees are actually attorneys. And so these are people that went through a lot of school, they make a lot of judgment calls every day. They got to recognize, remember a lot of laws and things like that, but they also have to memorize the rule book for the NFL. And so they're usually smart, really smart people. But he was saying that referees make calls because there's no such thing as a full time referee.
Right.
They do their day job Monday through Friday, and then they fly to where they need to for the game, and then they're an official on Sunday. And so apparently he was saying that they make these calls so they can text their buddies and say, "Oh, did you see the call that I made?" I come at that from two directions. One, if that's true, that's crazy. Like the NFL needs to, who was it? Justin Jefferson not long ago said, we need full time officials. This is their only job to kind of combat that. If we're having multiple people say this is something the NFL needs to look at. But two, I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. That'd be an insane way to flex for your friend group.
Yeah. Um, I mean, while I think that's a pretty crazy accusation, I mean, being on TV, having large power and impact on a game, I'm not saying that's what's going on, but I can see a world where it is. I mean,
I could see it.
I can see a world where it is. And then, so if for the viewer out there or listener out there, if we put all of this in context, this has this crazy live stream. He makes these comments. He's under a lot of scrutiny going up to the game. They have this crazy game. He has this crazy dominant game right after it, but this thing is still a story. And then after the game, he tweets out and doubles down on his take on the refs. And he was like, can anybody say that I was wrong? And he's like, he he went online and doubled down. So I know Sean McVay, I know he was fuming, livid. And it's hard because, I mean, it would be easy for people to say all of this is a distraction, but if you looked at the game, they were locked in.
I was going to say,
And it
he
was a controversial call with the 2-point conversion with the Seahawks, right? So, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, man, but it's bizarre.
I don't know. Like to me, you're always going to have bias to a certain extent, right? With officials, you're going to have bias to a certain extent. I genuinely hope this is wrong. I don't think it's out of the range of possibilities though that
Yeah.
it happens in games. I don't think it is at all. I mean, shoot, we have a huge gambling scandal right now with officials and players and coaches, and it's, people are human. They make dumb mistakes, so it definitely could happen.
Yeah, well, while we're on the NFL, man, just real quick, Broncos, man. Again, just to keep in mind, the Broncos are I'm pretty sure they're gonna play again because they play the Jaguars. So at the time that this was recorded, that game hasn't happened yet. So we don't know the results of that, right?
Got
So we're
about
speaking
half hour.
prior to that. But the game before with the Packers, because we didn't record that week. Did you get a chance to watch that game?
I gotta watch it a little bit, not a lot. Late, it was a later game, but I do know we got the dub. We helped out the Bears a little bit there, so I'm happy with that. And yeah, we got a dub. Broncos are listen, they're getting gritty wins, but I'll take gritty wins at any time I can.
Look, Zane, Imma just th lay it out for you, man. You would have thought last weekend or almost 2 weeks ago, I was the biggest Broncos fan. I tell my students, I tell people, watching the Packers play is one of the few times, if not the only time, I show up to watch somebody fail. And I'm like, I am here solely to watch you be unsuccessful. And it was awesome. I will say I don't like seeing players get hurt because at the end of the day, it is just a game. And so when guys get hurt and like I take that very seriously. So obviously Micah Parsons, which is like a franchise changing player, tears ACL. That's obviously really unfortunate. Thoughts and prayers out to him and his recovery. But man, that game was awesome. And that was one of the first games I felt like Bo Nix really started to be
Oh,
the
he balled.
quarterback that people wanted to see. So I thought that was really awesome to just, be able to watch that. Frank Crum, Wyoming native, got some good snaps in there as well. He got some good minutes in there as well. Got a chance to see him when they had a heavy personnel, extra O lineman, especially in short yardage situations. Shout out to Frank Crum. He's amazing. And yeah, I just look forward to see how they do in the playoffs. Hopefully by this time they would have clinched a AFC a number one seed. We don't really know at this point, but they're on a roll. So I know that a lot of people have been excited about that. Shoot, my team, the Chicago Bears, we just beat the Packers too, so it's like a double whammy. Sorry for all my Packers fans out there. Again, don't never like seeing people get hurt. Jordan Love leaving with a concussion. That's always tough. Even though Malik Willis, I mean, there was no drop off between Jordan Love and Malik Willis, and in fact, it was like he was more mobile. So if I'm a Packers fan, I'm not too upset with him being the quarterback. But man, I mean, overtime win. Caleb Williams, I mean, he found a way. I mean, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the game last night, Zane. Did you get a chance to catch it or not really?
That one I was, like, kinda paying attention, but kinda not paying attention. I believe I was watching Wyoming, it was either Cowboys or Cowgirls at the same time, so I was, like, kind of 50-50 in both, but I didn't lock in by any means.
Oh, man. And that's my point, right? I was mentioning earlier. They moved this game to Saturday. It was a doubleheader on Saturday. And I love my Cowboys, Cowgirl sports, but hey, this is a big game. I'm like, I can't miss this one.
No,
And
not at all.
crazy. Now, fantasy. Where are you at with fantasy?
I am still live in 2 leagues for the playoffs, I'm out in 2. How about
Okay.
you?
I am at least at the point of this recording alive, but there is a good possibility I'm probably out by now just because, you know, between injuries, having to swap people out, terrible matchups, I just don't see my team pulling it off this week. I'm not sure. Still a lot of football left to go. I mean, it's the semifinals, and I'm also running up against our league's commissioner, which historically speaking, shout out to Jeff. He's had some pretty rough patches these past couple of seasons. So I am happy if I do lose to somebody is him because he's very humble. He's not he's not the biggest chast talker. He might be witty at times, but he's just a honest, hardworking fantasy manager. And so to see him have a really dominant team this year, I think is cool. Yeah, so I don't know. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't be surprised if I'd be out right now and getting ready to compete for third place, which I get my money back if I win that one. But
There you go, there
yeah,
you go.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of my update right now. As we're recording, there's games happening as we speak, so I have no idea. I'm not getting any updates on my phone about any type of big play. So
I
that's
was
to
gonna say
tell you.
I'm not getting any touchdown notifications. Oh, right now the Bills are only winning 23-20. It's
23-20 now.
yeah,
Oh man, when
yeah,
I was watching before we started recording, it was 20-10. Jeez.
yeah. So
Yeah,
they're
so and
yeah, we gotta
I don't
catch
know
the end
what's
of that
going
guy.
on. It makes me question where I think the Bears are because we played the Bears almost 2 weeks ago and we beat them 31-3. I
Okay,
mean, I don't know.
okay.
I don't know. But yeah, hopefully you're able to make it through and win a championship with one of these leagues that you're in. And usually I'm in like a couple, but this year I'm just only in one, so I'm hoping that we make it through. I want to before we get out of here, I do want to bring up a couch question for you, Zane. The couch question of the week for this week is college football or the NFL more entertaining at this point in the season? What do you have?
At this point in the season, I gotta go with, probably college football because we're in
Mhm.
the playoff
Yeah,
and pro football is not yet in the playoff. Although I do have one gripe. Um, Listen, Wyoming is a group of 14. I have no or a group of 16, excuse me. I have no ill will towards a group of 16. They gotta fix this playoff, man. Tulane got absolutely murdered. And then who is our other group of 12 representative or group of six representative in the college football playoff? It was Tulane and I'm trying to, regardless, both of the group of six representatives just got murdered.
slaughtered.
Like it's, we got to go to a different system. I don't know if they want to do like I think a group of six playoff would actually be a lot of fun. What do you feel about that? Like doing a power four playoff and a group of six playoff?
I think on paper it makes sense.
Mhm.
I mean, the reason why it changed in the first place is because of the critiques with, teams having amazing records, but you look at strength of schedule and people don't get in, and it's like a group of people that's just selecting and choosing. And so I think that I think us as football fans, college football fans specifically, need to come to terms with is that we won't always be 100% happy with what it looks like, but I think we need to find the closest thing to like the closest thing to a game that like a schedule of games that makes sense. I think that I mean, yeah, I just right now I think that we might have gone further in the other direction.
I think so. Because like last year, Boise against Penn State was not a good game,
No,
right?
it doesn't make
Ole
for
Miss against
entertaining. Yeah.
yeah, Ole Miss against Tulane was not a good game. I don't remember the other one, but it wasn't. Yeah, they got to do a change. But let me get your couch question of the week answer: is college football or NFL more entertaining for you right now?
So I'm with you with so I would say in general college football. But I think this specific season, the NFL is crazy right now, um, in the NFC alone, we didn't have a single division leader this late into the season until the Eagles just won this past weekend.
Yeah,
So, how tight of a race it is, how many teams that are really good. I mean, you're gonna have a team it's very possible for a team to have 11 wins and not make it to the playoffs.
well,
So
even the AFC, the Bills and Kansas City are not number one in their division.
no, it's so wide open. I think specifically this season has been one of the more and most interesting football seasons I've seen in a while. I mean, there's so many great, like, competitive games where it's like, this is insane. I remember what was it? One of the first games of the year, Bills and Ravens. People were like, this is the game of the year. Now, how many times have we heard or felt that way since that week, right? In this week alone, you got 2 of those with the Seahawks and Rams and the Bears and Packers in like a 2-day span, 2, 3-day span in the same conference. So,
Yeah,
it's like to see how it shakes up, it's almost like the playoffs are already kinda started for a lot of teams. So, I feel like this specific season, I would say the NFL more than college. But generally speaking, around this time of year, I think college football is a little bit more entertaining.
yeah, yeah. And then like what 2 weeks from now though, it'll be NFL everything except for the national championship game.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So
So,
I think it's gonna be interesting to see how it all shakes out and then what changes come from there. But yeah, so as we get ready to close out, Zane, is there anything else you got that you wanted to bring up or mention or that you wanted to comment on before we get out of here?
no, we appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in to episode 16. I sorry about the sporadic schedule. We'll get it nailed down post holidays.
All right. So thank you all for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, share all of our videos. And yeah, we really appreciate the support. We'll see you guys again soon. Be safe during the holidays. And as always, go Pokes, Powder River.
See you guys.